Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the life and incredible legacy of one of the 20th century's most powerful and enduring voices, Anne Frank.
You know, her life was cut so tragically short, but her words have been echoing for decades. Let's start with a really powerful wish that she wrote down while she was in hiding.
Just listen to that. This quote tells you everything about her deep love for the country that had become a refuge, and you can just feel her hope for a future she would, unfortunately, never get to see. And after the war, this private diary, which she hoped to call the secret Annex, just exploded. It became one of the most translated and widely read books in the entire world, giving a real, human face to the millions of victims of the Holocaust. But before she became this global symbol, she was just a girl with a vibrant, happy childhood. So let's rewind a bit and take a look at her early years.
Just look at how quickly her entire world was turned upside down. I mean, it's staggering. In just 13 years, her life went from a peaceful childhood in Frankfurt to hiding for her life in a tiny, concealed annex in Amsterdam.
So, what was she like? Well, everyone who knew her described her as this spark of life, super extroverted, lively, a little bit impulsive. She grew up in a liberal Jewish family, and her father, Otto, had this amazing library and really encouraged both his daughters to read and learn. And then, everything changed. On July 6, 1942, her older sister Margot got this terrifying call-up notice for a so-called German work camp. And that was it. Their life of freedom was over. Their life in hiding had begun.
Their hiding place was really quite ingenious. You'd walk through this normal office building, and behind what looked like just a regular revolving bookcase, that was the entrance. The door to the secret annex, a tiny space that would become their entire world for more than 2 years.
So you have these 8 people living on top of each other in these incredibly close quarters. Now, they were supported by a small group of incredibly brave helpers, but their lives were just this constant mix of fear, boredom, tension, and, of course, the kind of conflicts that are bound to happen when you're trapped together.
And it's in this claustrophobic, high-stress environment that Anne's greatest achievement really took shape. She didn't just keep a diary to pass the time. No, she became a writer. This was her act of resistance.
It all started with this simple red and white checkered notebook. It was a gift for her 13th birthday, just a few weeks before they went into hiding. And she decided to address all of her entries to an imaginary friend she named Kitty.
And this is where things get really interesting. She wasn't just writing for herself anymore. After hearing a radio broadcast from the Dutch government in exile, which was calling on people to save their wartime documents, Anne made a conscious decision. She started editing her diary, rewriting entries on loose-leaf paper, determined to shape her story into a book the world would one day read. And this quote just brilliantly shows her growing awareness of the world around her. Her writing wasn't just a daily log. It was this deep exploration of huge questions about identity, about belonging, about hope, and about despair, all while her world was literally falling apart outside. After 2 long years of silence, of hiding, it all came crashing down. On the morning of August 4th, 1944, the police, acting on a tip, stormed the annex.
So, the big question, the one that has haunted historians for decades, is who betrayed them? And despite so many investigations over the years, we've never been able to definitively identify the person who made that call.
Well, the theories are all over the place. They range from a disgruntled worker who wanted money to a tragic, accidental discovery during a totally separate investigation. There was even a controversial recent theory pointing to a fellow Jew who might have been forced to collaborate. But the honest truth is, it remains one of history's most painful mysteries. After their arrest, the people from the annex were plunged into the horrific machinery of the Nazi death camps. This timeline, it charts their final, absolutely devastating journey through Westerbork, Auschwitz, and finally, Bergen-Belsen.
Out of the 8 people who hid in the secret annex, it's almost impossible to comprehend, but only one survived. Anne's father, Otto Frank. And what he chose to do next? Well, that ensured his daughter's voice would never, ever be silenced.
After the war, one of the courageous helpers, an amazing woman named Miep Gies, gave Otto the diary pages she had saved from the annex floor. He then dedicated the rest of his life to fulfilling Anne's greatest wish, to have her book published and her story heard. You see, her very personal story ended up becoming something universal. Her diary became this powerful symbol of the resilience of the human spirit, especially when faced with unimaginable hatred.
So Anne Frank was denied her future, but her words live on. Her story isn't just a historical document, it's a living challenge. It really compels us to confront intolerance in our own times and to reflect on just how valuable a single hopeful voice can be in a world that can often seem pretty dark.